Hello, and thank you for joining us at xm.com for this Forex Preview video. We'll be having a closer look at U.S. data coming up this week. I'm Cristina Marujos, and joining me today is lead investment analyst Rafi Boyajian. Rafi, we're expecting CPI data as well as retail sales this week out of the United States, and it will be interesting to see the inflation reading in particular, as it might give investors an insight into whether the Fed will go ahead with a taper announcement in November. Therefore, what are we likely to see in the report, and do you think any inflationary episode will be transitory as the Fed suggests?
Well, Christina, we certainly have some important data coming up, and as you would expect, a lot of attention on the inflation numbers on Tuesday. So we could see consumer price index easing a little bit in August. The month-on-month rate already decelerated sharply back in July and could moderate further in August. So expectations are for CPI to decline from 0.5 to 0.4% on a month-on-month basis. Now, for the annual rate, that will be interesting because it could decline for the first time in almost a year. So forecasts are for the headline rate to fall from 5.4 to 5.3% in August. And that could be an early sign that inflation is perhaps leveling off, which would support the Fed's argument that the inflation surge is temporary. However, whilst weaker inflation would be good news for policymakers, we could also see retail sales declining for the second straight month in August. The forecast is for retail sales to drop 1% on a monthly basis. And this comes on the back of a similar decline in July, so that would indeed be rather worrying. So although some of this drop would probably be down to the fading effect of the reopening boom, there are growing fears that the worsening Delta outbreak in the US is weighing on consumer spending. So this is something that might concern policymakers as we head into the September FOMC meeting.
And now turning to the dollar, how do you think it will perform this week on the data releases?
Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for the dollar lately, but following that initial dip after the August jobs report, the dollar has been steadily moving higher. Now, if the upcoming data are more or less in line with expectations, that would underscore the view that the Fed will probably send a clear signal at its September meeting that there will be a taper announcement in November. And this should be supportive of the dollar, so we could see further gains in the greenback if the data are more or less within expectations. However, if we get much weaker than expected numbers, maybe not so much in inflation, but in fact in retail sales where the impact from Delta variant would be much more visible, that could generate some doubts about the health of the US economy. So not only would that be negative for the dollar, but it could spark quite a bit of volatility if investors start to seriously worry about the extent of the slowdown in the US economy from the Delta variant, just as the Fed is getting ready to scale back its asset purchases.
Rafi, thank you for joining me today. This was a Forex Preview on US data here at xm.com.